Okay, guys, I've been giving you tons of stuff from Montreal Audio Fest. I'm back in town, only for 2 days though. Surprises to come there. But I still haven't given you everything from Dallas, the Southwest Audio Fest. And in this video, actually, I released over the weekend, amongst all my Montreal coverage, my best of report from the Southwest Audio Fest. In this video, I'm going to give you, like I normally do, not just my opinions and best of. I'm giving you the opinions of a bunch of people, all my friends that were there that could attend this Zoom. They're going to be giving you their favorites in this video, so stay tuned. Okay, guys, welcome back to the channel. A little housekeeping to get out the way. I am so swamped with stuff. I got a ton of stuff still to give you from Southwest Audio Fest, including I've filmed the entire setup of that potpourri room and the sale speakers using the Bach. I've talked about this before. One of the things I would have bought the Bach for alone is just those in-ear measurements at the listening position and what I can do with those measurements to set up things properly. I'm going to walk you through exactly everything that happened. Dave filmed me setting up the potpourri sales at Southwest Audio Fest. The entire setup we did Thursday night. You're going to be able to watch that and see the tools I did and what I did technique-wise with ASC tube traps and whatnot to address any issues we had. Luckily, those rooms were great. We didn't even have too much, but it still will be a very valuable video. Also, from Montreal, I have a ton of content that I still haven't released. I have stuff from Thomas and Stereo's room. I did release a few videos from there, but there was kind of a semi after hours with the Mako speaker, the Macaria, and you've seen that on my channel as well. They set up in his room for an hour or two after hours, and I've got some footage from that. I also have a ton of other special stuff from that, including a pre-press event that was press only for Klipsch, and I haven't covered much with Klipsch before and some of these other brands like Wim, and this is going to be kind of my first featuring them in a significant video, so stay tuned for that and plenty more. Plus, I'm off to Los Angeles literally 2 days from now. I got to go to Los Angeles, and I'm going to be gone for basically a week, come back, and then right off to Expona. But I'm going to leave it a secret right now what I'm doing in Los Angeles, but stay tuned for that. In the interim, I'm getting out this video. Plenty more to come, though. See you soon.
Yeah, what I thought I'd do is just get everybody's thoughts from the show, especially Gary being show organizer, second year. I know what I'm doing is going to combine this video. I've already filmed my best of show, so I don't want to talk too much here. I want to turn it over to you guys, but I wanted to give in a combined video what I just filmed myself, what my thoughts were, and then you guys giving your thoughts as well as Gary's thoughts on the show. But to summarize, just so you know, what I was saying is like for the second year, I thought it was a phenomenal show. Our room was busy nonstop. I mean, even on Sunday, it is very few lulls, and that's a good sign. Now, I understand Sundays as a whole, and some of the videos I shot on Sunday, because that's when I can get the sweet spot, showed some of the rooms empty, but maybe turn it over to Gary first. I mean, what were your thoughts on the show, attendance, and overall, impressions?
We had a reasonable increase in attendance, but as you know, we can always have more. We put out so much information on social media, and then also on we'll call them the magazine audiophile companies. We'll say Stereophile, The Absolute Sound, even Part-Time Audiophile, and we just we even advertised with a local radio station.
Okay.
And we sent out leaflets, posters to approximately 140 regional record shops, and we were hoping for more people. But like you said, I went out to all the rooms, and I was a little concerned because I didn't see people out in the hallways. But again, the atrium was always busy. And then when I opened the door into a listening room, they were always full. So on one hand, I'm a little disappointed, but on the other hand, it's only our second year. So we are still pretty happy and got a lot of positive feedback.
Yeah, one thing I would caution people to judge by just visual alone is that the Gaylord, the last year of the Rocky Mountain, which was one of the
Right.
biggest, in fact, that probably was the biggest show in the industry back then. The hotel was so huge, you never felt.
Right.
Now in their older tech center, it was busy. The elevators were crowded. This had very good elevators. They were so spread out, and in fact, that hotel's so big in Dallas, they were having like 2 other conventions at the time, I think.
Right. Right.
I didn't even venture to the second half of the hotel. So visually, it could look a less crowded than actual. Sundays on every show day is pretty much dead. And I
Sure.
know, unfortunately, there was a pressure for us to pack up and get out pretty quickly
Yes.
with that show. So people did start packing up a little early. But yeah, Friday and Saturday, we had standing room only in the potpourri room. At least when I was doing demos, I remember seeing Jay from Jay's Audiolite. He never even got a seat. He had to leave. Mikey never got the sweet spot, OCD Mikey. Um, Danny with GR Research, he was supposed to come back in. He couldn't even get a seat. It was pretty much standing room only the whole weekend. We did have, just to give you guys, it wasn't on my bucket list, but it now in hindsight, I got to meet Noel Lee of
Yeah.
Monster
Yeah.
Cable.
Right.
And he said he came to this show specifically to hear the potpourri and the Bach. So I did a
Wow.
few dedicated demos for him, and actually he's buying the Bach, and I'm going to be visiting him in Vegas to help him install it. And that's going to be, now it's definitely a bucket list thing I never even thought would happen. But yeah, there were some very high profile people. Tom Martin with Stereophile, the owner, was there. Carlos wasn't there with Secrets of Home Theater and High Fidelity, but another representative was there. So I saw a lot of press, and a lot of audiophiles in Texas made the trek up from Houston. I saw a lot of familiar faces, as well as these guys. So that's what I wanted to do. All of these guys attended the show. So I thought I might go around and get other people's opinions, not just what I'm sharing in the first half of the video. Maybe start up in the right. Mike,
Yeah.
we got a few. Mike, we got Mike Sweck and Mike Rovner. So yeah,
Which
what did
one
you
do you
think,
want?
Mike?
Well, I've been doing these shows ever since kid, the CES way back in the day. I thought it was great. I think it was much better in the past few years. I mean, everybody like NBL, all the other, competing, speaker companies and amp guys, everybody was having a great time. Thought the attendance was good. Your room was packed all the time. And everybody had good things to say, except for Mikey OCD thought the attendance was down. So
Oh, did he?
I don't
I don't
know.
know. Maybe.
I'm like, what? No, I mean, yeah, sometimes it always looks so bare, but like you say, the rooms are full. The atrium was doing good. Um, yeah, obviously we'd like to see, more people showing up spending money, but the vibe was really good.
Mhm.
A lot of great sounding rooms. Things are just getting better and better, and everybody seemed to really enjoy it. So I thought it was a great show.
If I can interject, I would factually uh, the amount of attendance was up. It nearly doubled.
Wow.
We're around the 1,700
Yeah, you
at
got
this
some.
point. And then plus, as you know, if when you went out in the mezzanine,
Yep.
that was really really stretched out from almost one side from the atrium all the way across, just about across the building. So almost 15 rooms side by side. So and 15 large rooms to boot. But yeah, I understand. So we're still working on that. We're working on signage. We're trying to get more and more people there all the time.
Well, I mean, don't know if the economy this go around is a factor or not. Obviously, you know, people are going to the show. These are, high price ticket items. I don't think those people get factored in. But some people, I heard them say the attendance was not like last year, and I'm like, nah, it's definitely
It
the
was at
same or
least as
higher.
good. And yeah, I
Yeah.
think at least in the potpourri room, it was nonstop packed. But
Yep.
also, it is unfortunately, the timing is during spring break. So depending on with people booking trips and family trips, because we ran into a lot of people in the elevator asking us what's going on, and they were there at the hotel for their spring break, you know.
Wow.
So that can often sabotage plans when you have to worry about the family is going to dictate more than the usually the guy in the family wanting to go to an audiophile show.
Right.
So in any case, yeah, and actually, the other thing I want to, before we go too far with the rooms and stuff, the nightlife was a lot of fun. Thanks to Van. Maybe I'll turn it over to Van next. He suggested a restaurant on, was it Thursday night or Friday night?
Thursday night.
Thursday night. And then Friday night, we did the Mexican. And, oh, yeah, and talking about Mikey, he thought the Mexican wasn't good, but he didn't get the Del Mar trio. He thought it was too much money for 3 enchiladas, but those enchiladas are the best enchiladas you ever have in your life. You know, king crab, lobster, and shrimp.
Yeah.
Those are the best things ever. But in any case, yeah, we had some fabulous meals there, great after hours. Now, the restaurant in the hotel was a little slow. It was made us late for our
Right.
after hours thing. But yeah, there's a lot to do in Dallas. It should be on the must-see list next year, I would say. But yeah, maybe Devan, we go to you next with your thoughts.
First off, I think Gary and Lou did a very, very nice job. I think that hotel is really a nice place to have an event like this, because to me, somebody's already mentioned it, but it probably bears mentioning again, that, you know, just to be able to move around and the elevator's working well, I mean, that's a big thing to me. And you just felt like you had space. But again, as Gary said, the rooms for the most part were pretty full most of the time, maybe other than Sunday. And I do think that a lot of the vendors had good sounding rooms. You know, I know it's hard to get good sound in typical hotel room, but I think a number of vendors did that. There were some standouts.
Yeah, what were some of your standouts that you went around?
Yeah, I mean, just a few come to mind, and I did not get to every room by any stretch, but I know that the big rock ports sounded good, as they should, for I think $148,000 or something. But it was the big rock ports. I think they were. I can't remember. I think Tom, you were with me, but I can't remember the amplification. They were using an Audio Research Ref 6SE for their preamp, and then they were using the Audio Research Ref 3 for their phono, which they were using when we were in there. Do you remember the amplification?
No, I can't. It was a great sounding room, though. I mean, I
Yeah,
agree.
that room stood out. I know they were using Nordos cabling, and they actually listed the price of the cable loom, which I think was over $140,000 as well, which is interesting. But that was a good sounding room. And then right next to it, or close to it, there was the Zeloton speakers. Thought sounded pretty good. Don't remember much about the room other than it was pretty impressive. No, these were bigger rooms. Both of these speakers were in much bigger rooms, and it allowed them to breathe. And I thought they sounded good. On the smaller side, and I know Jeff had some interesting things to say about the potpourris. Apparently, I did not hear him say this, but Jeff Wells' room was very good. Again, very small Evolution acoustic speakers, and he was telling me that line has changed completely. And these were just two-way small bookshelf, all Wells electronics, including a new DAC that he was showing. In that room, he was getting a lot of three-dimensionality. It was a very good room. And then AGD, I'm a big fan of AGD, and thought that that he was getting good sound as well. And he seems to always do it regardless of the speaker that he uses. But Songer sounded good to me as well. But yeah, I thought a lot of the people were getting good sound. Yeah, I certainly enjoyed moving around. And again, we spent most of our time in the potpourri room helping out, playing music and answering questions and that kind of thing, which is also fun to do.
Yeah, you were a big help. You know, you're just a customer of the potpourri, but You flew out and actually were helped running the room, certainly instrumental in helping Michael Sweck set up the sale mod, hyper sale. So yeah, big thanks to you. And your room, as you can see in the backdrop of your video, is some people have come since I did my video to your room, and they've all said this is among the best rooms they've ever heard. Potpourri with the Bach and your electronics. Just if you're in the North Carolina area, reach out to me, and maybe we'll put you in touch with Van to maybe pay him a visit. Beautiful home, very gracious guy. You definitely want to hear his system if you get a chance.
And it's an open invitation. You're right, Jason. We've had several people come listen to them, and as I think I told you, since I've had the Bach, the potpourris, a lot of smiling going on during listening sessions. But yeah, it's a nice combination. I think with that combination over the weekend, last weekend, the sales, again, everybody knows that they were pre-production models, but I think they sounded really, really good. I understand they're up and running in your room now and sounding very well too. So that's great.
Yeah, I've got them dialed in. It's amazing how they have that impulse response that we showed that was so good in a hotel room with relatively no treatments, although ASC was there in force if we needed it, but we didn't need too many of their treatments. But what they did bring was very effective, got us tremendous results either with or without subs. The impulse response was great. The frequency response was great. With 0 dB, we put 0 dB max gain. So using EQ with not adding 1 dB of gain is very difficult. Even in our group of Bach users, almost everybody has to use some level. The default is 2. But in short doses, you can do it, no problem. But we were able to use 0 in that room with the hypersales. And in my room right now, I'm running it with 0 dB. And I also have another bin with 2 dB. So it's it was very impressive. And I think one story that you were telling people is how your system now, once you put in the Bach and the potpourris, your wife and your son and others have started to, really enjoy your system.
Yeah, it's something that's hard to explain until you've heard the combination. I know Dave's got it now. I know that you've got the sales, but yeah, the combination for non-audiophiles. That's what I think is neat about it. I mean, as audiophiles, we can kind of pick and choose stuff, but non-audiophiles like my wife, our oldest son, who loves music, doesn't care what it's played on, but when he heard it for the first time, heard my system for the first time here month ago or so, he was just blown away. He was like, he didn't really know what to say other than it just sounds like the presentation is taking place in front of you. And he's hearing things that he hadn't heard before, and it's just kind of a natural presentation. And it is hard to explain if you haven't heard the combination. So yeah, I'm very happy with mine. Again, I thought for a hotel room that we actually got pretty good sound out of the sales with the help of the box. So yeah, I'm a happy customer for sure, and I'm glad to help out Mike during the show.
Yeah, well, we appreciate that. And like I said, yeah, the room could have been bigger, and the sacrifice wasn't at the sweet spot because as we saw, the measurements were impeccable. But when you're in a close room, when you're off axis close, unfortunately, you get, not as good as a bigger room.
It is interesting, and you say this because none of those people that you mentioned were able to even sit down.
Yeah, some people never even got to sit down. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know what people are going to say about the sound, but we know what we heard, and certainly had a lot of compliments from a lot of people.
Yeah, I got a lot of feedback, and of course, Michael has dealers now wanting to sign up, and a lot of customers, including one that was on the call just a second ago. Because yeah, I'm looking. It's kind of ironic. I'm looking at everybody. Everybody's got potpourris in the background now, and Michael Sweck would have it too if he hadn't sold all of his models. Now, Dave, we don't know what's in Dave's back. He can't even get his camera straight.
I know.
This is like turned into like a workout for Dave because he can't get his camera straight.
It's Scotch hour.
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay?
Unfortunately, we can hear you and see you, but
Okay. Well, that's okay.
But let's go ahead and get Dave out the way. Dave, what did you think of the show?
I loved it. I mean, for me, it was a time to put faces to names. You know, a lot of people in our group, like Mike here, you know, we had nice dinner, had a chance to talk with Mike and learn a whole lot about, you know, his background. And it made me understand a lot more about what he was talking about on the forum, you
Yeah.
know? And I thought that was great. And what a benefit for me too was I received my potpourri, you know, the WR3s before the show. And so I had a chance to set them up, get a chance to listen to them and get used to them and to experience that purity. You know, I don't know, I guess Gary and Jason, I mean, you probably know that I don't find they have any kind of sound signature whatsoever. It's just pure music and pure what's on the recording. At the show, I noticed the first thing that hit me was every other speaker system, no matter how great it was, it has a signature of some sort that interacts with the music. And I guess I was going around the show trying to find something like that that didn't do it. And the big sound labs came close. You know, they're just too big for me. They're just too broad of a panel. And I didn't like how they, you know, they image. And they don't have the texture. They don't have the body that these potpourris do. Do you find the same thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, last year, this was much better for the sound labs. If you recall last year,
The small
uh,
ones.
it's the only video in history that I've never released that I would go
Right.
into a show. It was so bad that it could not play. They had the much smaller models, more like the size of yours WR3s. But those models of the Sound Labs can't do the bass that the
No,
potpourris
not at
do.
all.
And so when we asked them to play some of the high demand stuff, it was so bad. I did not feel it was fair to release that video. But this time, Dr. Vinyl brought a more appropriate, and he was running the room this year, not last year. So he knew what model to bring. And of course, if you can fit those in your room,
Right.
but yeah, I
It's like
can't.
two pool tables with that green color upended.
Well, I called it putting green material. But yeah,
Yeah.
those are the speakers, the Sound Labs, and actually who was there was Duke Lejeune. He's the first
Yes.
one that had Sound Lab A1s in New Orleans, and that's how I became an electrostatic fan. Those A1 Sound Labs and then the Martin Logan Prodigies were the two that I've always kept in my mind of two speakers I always wanted to recreate what I heard. No matter what technology has come through the years, all the systems I go to, and very few people on the planet hear as much as I hear, both at shows and people's homes. It's still electrostatics have that magic in a certain area, and certainly Sound Labs and Martin Logan's, but they've always had a little bit of that trade-off, whether it's the bass driver in the cabinet or Sound Labs being just, too big and needing a lot of power in the past.
Right. And
Potpourri
now
is
they have
really,
that magic all the way down. You know,
Mhm.
like people see these big base towers back there and they're probably assuming I'm crossing over very high like I used to. But my base towers are set now at 35 hertz.
That's
You
amazing.
know, these potpourris are taking care of everything. And it's just simply amazing.
Yeah.
And
So I don't want to turn too much of potpourri because we're going to talk about it a
right.
lot on the channel. And we've talked a lot about it, but did you get around to other rooms at
I did, of course, you know, and
you
I
came
went to
around with me for some of them.
right. I did a shout out to 3MA too. They had three nice rooms going there. That was a
Mhm.
big outlay for them. A lot of
Just
equipment.
insurance alone, Luis was telling me, I think just insurance alone was well into 5 figures
I believe that.
on that MBL Extreme. People do not realize, yeah, a lot of people get on either on the forums or on YouTube and just knee jerk criticize something, and they rarely even get into the sweet spot. They don't realize all the things that happen at these shows, all the cost to just do really 2 days, Friday and Saturday.
Well,
And
Jeremy has such a passion for those speakers, and man, him and Tara, I mean, they had that room dialed in.
yeah,
I enjoyed late night. I enjoyed afternoon too. It was just,
and they had two rooms. They had a smaller system
that's
too with
right.
MBL.
But now the
Yeah.
small room last year was the highlight for me, you know, the 120s.
Mhm.
But also Jeremy and Luis, they were running that room. They didn't run that room this year. And I don't know if it was a music selection or what, but I didn't feel that same magic this year.
Well, that's
Yeah,
another
Jeremy-
variable. Yeah,
Yeah, Jeremy showed the curves. It was like dead nuts flat.
that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's another variable you bring up. I tell people all the time, if you're not in the sweet spot, that's one variable. If they're not playing at the volume you like, that's another variable. If they're not playing the music you like, all of those things can affect whether you have the highest emotional attachment of goosebumps and almost nothing. It could be the
Yeah, very
same
true.
system that
Yep.
these things can all be variables, but people just make primitive knee-jerk assumptions. They go stand in the foyer and then they're like, oh, this doesn't sound good. But yeah, the gear is beyond reproach in almost every room I was
Oh, yes.
finding. In fact, I got to give a shout out to Gary for these brands that are demoing at his show that I've never seen before. The Rizzy speaker. How many of you guys saw
Yeah, I
that?
saw that.
Yeah,
interesting.
that was cool.
That was cool. It was just like a soundboard material. I've never seen that before from Uruguay. So to get a vendor from that, Planet Venus, this is the only show I've ever seen them at. And that software, I want to get it because it gives you the ability to remaster and play with bad recordings and maybe improve them. I definitely want to try that as part of my Mr. DSP. Have you done it, Mike?
I do it all the time. I'll show you all the good stuff.
Yeah, so
I have
I got to
all
go
the good
visit
stuff.
you, and I'm going to be doing a video with you.
Oh yeah.
You have a big digital background. So yeah, I mean, and then I got to
If you
give a
want to
shout out.
feel underaccomplished, let him tell you about his background.
I tried. I sent them some reading stuff. So
I mean, some of the people that we have in the WhatsApp group between Edgar and Michael, Steve McCormick, all these JR, we have the best of the best experts that you could have. But also, did y'all go into the Albedo speaker room with the Western Electric amps and that
that sounded
levitation?
great.
Yeah.
That
My
was
video
very
from
clean.
that, I
That
was
was good.
I thought that was a great room with cool new stuff. Well, the Western Electric amps aren't so much new, but when you hear about what they're talking about coming out with a new 100-watt set amp, SET, and then that levitation stand with just one point and then magnetics, and then the transmission line Italian speakers, the Albedo speakers.
Those sounded good.
That was something I've never seen before at any other show. So there were a lot. And then also Gary gets a good mix of budget. I didn't get into the Vanuatu room, but they're always good for a really great price. The Chesky room had budget stuff that was, he sold out of everything in his room. It's a 3D printed speaker.
The new audio research lineup looked very nice too.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, new releases there. And of course, Val had great room. I like that little separate room he had.
That
Did a
M
sound clip in
series,
there.
yes.
Really good. Mike, you got to spend some time. Mike Lang, I've got so many mics in here. You got to spend some time both in the potpourri room and around this show. You had some favorites?
Yeah. Actually, you've already hit on a few of them. I bought that stuff from Planet Venus too.
Oh, you did?
I thought it'd be fun. I don't know exactly how I'm going to implement it. I need to know where I can put that VST plugin in my system.
I can show you.
I'm going to need your help because
I do it all the time. My rig uses 4 of them. Edgar designed it in for a good reason. It's easy to do.
All right. Well, then I'm going to need some assistance. I bought a pair of those little Vanuatus for my computer. So I was blown away by those. I was last time I saw them too. So I actually put some money down. I thought the potpourris were great. I wish I'd had more time to play with them. It's interesting. I come there with some buddies from Seattle and Omaha and Denver, and we get together and socialize. I got them up there. They first time that 2 of the big guys of the big rigs had ever heard Bach. And I think they were, it's kind of funny because they're very dismissive because they have huge Wilson systems and all kinds of, one of my 2 buddies got that whole DCS stack of equipment now. And it was funny because they said, boy, that really does some great stuff. And then they didn't bring it up again. And I've known these guys for 45 years. They're going home scratching their heads. So So I think we made an impression on them. So it was good enough to impress them, and I thought it was a good demo. I couldn't really get an impression about whether those potpourris were as dynamic. You guys have all raved about the dynamicism of the speakers. I just couldn't. I didn't have enough time to really hear that.
Yeah, that's why when I came home, I released a few clips. Mike Sweck and I put the potpourris in my house, and we started playing some 100 dB clips to show that that they can do that. But yeah, at the show conditions, I would play Queen Mary a little bit, and we did Friday without the subs, Saturday with the subs, and I didn't do the whole song. It can definitely interrupt a lot of people, and it's boring to hear a lot. But in any case, yeah, happy to host people at my house if they want to hear the 100 dBs that we were able to achieve with and without subs. And of course, other people are now. Gary is also in the Northeast. If you want to go to his home, he's using a little burning amp under 20 watts to drive
10 watts.
10 watts. And then Van is using tubes. Another thing that we showcase is that tubes, the VAC tube amps were great now twice with potpourris. I use solid state. Actually, I was surprising Michael Sweck. I was using a multi-channel primary amp on them, and just to showcase how good both the primary is and how it can sound good with almost any amp.
Which model did you put in your room, Jason?
Of amp?
No, speaker. Which one of the potpourris do you have?
Oh, the hypersales, the ones from the show.
Okay, all right.
So yeah, I have some videos that you can look at that to hear the dynamics. After hours, I didn't play a lot of dynamic stuff. I mainly played YouTube videos to showcase the video content that you can use the Bach with and on your system. And I think that's resonating a lot, the after hours, that people are realizing that a lot of the YouTube recordings are really good and sound great, look great, and give you more enjoyment from your system than just listening to YouTube videos on speakerphone or earbuds. And so that's been a big push for me with these after hour demos, and I think that's resonating well. But what other rooms did you go to, Mike Lang, that outside of, you're muted right now, you might want to unmute.
I heard the 3MA room, and I honestly think that was my favorite of the show.
The MBL Extremes?
No, were they Magicos? Yeah, the Magicos with the Rel stacks.
Oh, really? Okay.
And Boulder, I think.
Yeah, Boulder amps. That's right. We heard that was actually, I was unaware that room existed because it was off to the side. I think I missed it. Well, I know I missed it. So we heard it on Sunday. And man, that was a very impressive system to me. You know, it had real good coherence and very dynamic, and I thought it was well set up. Little, way too complicated, but still impressive. And I think the potpourris were a high point for me. I was there after hours, as you know, and I was very impressed. I got to spend probably more than my share of the time in the middle seat too. So I got a pretty good listen to them, but again, not on enough high volume, high dynamic stuff. And that was what I was particularly interested in, because I've had a lot of electrostatics. I mean, I've had 3 or 4 pair of Martin Logans, and I've got a pair of Sanders right now.
Oh yeah, you do? Okay.
Edgar loves me because I have Sanders, but and they're wonderful speakers in my smaller room, but they don't quite do it. And Roger Sanders would box my ears for saying that, because he thinks they play louder than anything you need, but he's wrong.
Well, certainly some people never do get to 100 dB. If I played 100 dB, even when I did it in the room, some people would leave, even for the short time I would do it, because it's just too much for them. So some people do not. I like to listen to it loud sometimes when it's the right song. So I totally get it. And so that was the main thing. If you recall, all last year I was auditioning different electrostatics before I even found the potpourri. I tried the Sound Labs last year at this show, and that was unfortunate. Then the Petaxis, Final, and others. And, you know, they have all the magic of the electrostatics, but the trade-offs that you were talking about revealed themselves. So, yeah, that's what attracted me, and now the hyper sales are mine. But in any case, yeah, those are good rooms that you mentioned. The 3MA room, ironically, the Magico and Rel is actually set up in their dealership, totally opposite from the MBL Extremes in the same room. So you can actually A/B, if you go to 3MA, the MBL Extremes, turn your chair the other way, and you can hear that system that you heard. So it's a very cool room.
So
where
they
you
don't
can-
have the 101s on that wall anymore?
No, it's the Magicos, yeah. And
You know-
the newer Magicos, S5, I think it was, yeah.
We have Mike Ware down here in Phoenix or Scottsdale, and he's got probably the best audio store I've ever been in here in town. It's LMA or no, LMC. He's got a fabulous showroom. He's got the MBL Extremes on display all the time. And he does that same situation. He got a huge room, sets that up on one end and sets up something else on the other end. And I get to hear that. He also has the Wilson Chronosonic, you know, the $1 million ones, the $800,000 ones. He's got those set up. One of the very few places in the country you can hear those. You know, I don't know what in the world could be worth that much, but they're impressive.
Sounds like I need to pay him a visit, because I'm known for visiting some of these $1 million speaker systems. So,
well, yeah, if you do that, you got to give me a call, and I'll go with you, because he's quite a carrier. Big Macintosh. I think he's the biggest Macintosh dealer, but he has Martin Logan. He's got Kef. He's got Sonus Farber. He's got Wilson. I don't know, I'm probably missing half a dozen. And he's got fabulous showrooms. He has Burmeister. Those big Burmeister amplifiers, those big square cubes, got reviewed last year, I think, by Green. And they're so big and heavy, and there are so few pairs. Green came to Scottsdale to review them at his place.
cool.
So
Yeah, and they've got new finish now for Burmester. If you watch one of my videos with KC Audio, they have a newer, darker finish instead of the chrome, which I think is even better looking. But you brought up Sonus Faber. It's a good way to transition to the bottom, right? John Harlow, who's got to unmute his mic. But I visited John before the show, spent some time at his house. He's got 4 box. Well, his son's, he bought his son's box from Max, and then he's got one in both of his homes, South Carolina and Dallas. He's got the Sonus Faber Aidas, although that might be changing to potpourris as well soon. But it's a phenomenal home. Spent the whole day with him. He brought me to the Beretta store where I got a new gun. We had a great lunch that day.
And a hat for the club.
And a hat, yeah. And you were there just one day, John, and you had to head off. You're in South Carolina now. What were your thoughts of the show?
Well, I was a volunteer in the morning, and I thought it was pretty brisk in terms of people, you know, paying, had prepaid, and a few people were walk-ins and paid. And I thought it was interesting that I don't know how people got the word out, but the parking at y'all need to understand, I live in Dallas, and so we know these things, but the parking at the Anatole is expensive as hell. Even if you're given a 50% coupon, and the number of people that actually said they parked in the parking lot was almost close to zero. They knew to park across the street or somewhere and walk in, which I thought was funny. I only was there, as Jason said, for one day. I spent most of my time in the potpourri room watching Jason and Mike and Dave and Tom and Van do their thing, and a chance to listen to the potpourris. I did hear them at Jason's house before, so that was my second experience with them. In terms of, I didn't go to that many rooms, but I did wander into the Von Schweikert. Is that how?
Yeah.
That thing was on fire. I couldn't believe how good that sounded. And they've got some kind of box that was against the wall. The guy who was the salesman in the room, he couldn't really explain the technology. He's trying to. Tom, you're kind of grinning. I think you may be able to.
Yeah, I had Damon von Schweiker, he explained that to me once and I still didn't get it. And,
Well,
he's savvy with the sub
he
thing.
said something about it does something with space, and it anyway. The wires go back
Yeah.
to the speaker, and they claimed it canceled out the nulls, and they were playing some music that really was so good. I need to tell you what it is because I actually got out my phone and had somebody tell me, had the app tell me what it was.
Was that their larger room, John?
No, it was a small room.
The smaller room, okay.
Yeah,
So
it was
I know there are
about
two
four.
rooms. The
It
small
was
one,
about 4 down from where Michael Sweck's room was.
Yep.
The potpourri.
that was a good room. Yep.
Anyhow, that was my first experience with their speakers. I was blown away, and I heard the YGs. They sounded as good as they did the year before. There's one person I want to mention to you guys. If you're into tube amplifiers, there's a local fella in Dallas named Brian Miller, has a company called Miller Audio. He builds these things out of his house. He can take an old Dynaco kit or any old tube amp and create magic with it. And he makes what I'll call brand new Dynaco amps, all shapes and sizes, colors, copper transformers, they're good eye candy and all kinds of variability, up-to-date technology improvements. If Dynaco was still in existence and came out with an amp, the way car companies come out with, the new version of something that was done 20 years ago, it would look like his amplifiers. And his little booth was over there next to JR's, and it was, he had a nice crowd there the whole time.
They did. They look very nice.
Passed near that. Anyway, he's one of the things that you'll hear Jason say to us all the time is the kinds of people that you want to do business with and to see them to be successful. This guy's real low key. He's in the business for the right reason. He's a retired Raytheon engineer, electronic warfare guy, knows tube circuitry like he was the guy who invented the first tube. And he just does this in his house. His house is a complete mess, but it's a little factory. And he's in there with a soldering iron and shit going crazy. And I bought an old Dynaco amp and took it over to his house, and he revved it up, changed the capacitors and do the things that we normally do to an old tube amp. And then I told him, I said, I want to start with the base Dynaco before I hear yours. I want to know what the benchmark is. And so I had mine and then played his. He beat it, and his just blew mine up. And the Dynaco, I think, is old tube amp. They're as good as anything that's made today, and you buy them for nothing. So
what's his name again? Miller
Sound.
Brian Miller, and it's Miller Audio. If you're a YouTuber that you can get acquainted with, there's one where Danny Ritchie has his amplifier, and of course, Danny at the end of it says it didn't sound perfect until he put his little circle things that you stick his speaker wires in, which I thought was self-serving, kind of a cheesy thing to do.
Tube connectors, yeah.
Yeah, tube connectors.
Yeah, tube
it's like, oh, it just didn't sound right. I put these tube connectors in, and everybody agrees that this thing is just, killer now.
Yeah, I used to have a Dynaco 870 that I drove my Apogee ribbons to mid-range and tweeted directly. The output transformers are really good.
That's right.
Yep.
And I got from Joe Fenninger down in Houston, I bought 2 ICO mono blacks that have their transformers in them.
Yep.
Yeah, so anybody that's seen my videos with Joe Fenninger, the guy that does all these exotic tube amps and modifications, John Harlow bought 2 of his amps. Actually, I brought one to him on my drive up from Joe, who lives here, and brought him one that he had bought. And yeah, and those would work great on the potpourris, as well as work with his Sonus Faber Aidas, which you offload the bass, because the Sonus Fabers have multiple crossovers. You feed it with your Burmesters on the low end, and then
Yeah.
you use the tube amps on the top end, and it was really nice sounding in your room.
Well, I'm not going to do an advertisement here. Mike Sweck knows this and Jason knows this. I'm going to audition the potpourris. I think next week. Mike will get back with a specific date. I expect things to go perfectly and to become an owner and join the potpourri fan club with the rest of you guys.
Okay. Well, I'll come up there and video it, and then you don't have to ask me twice to come up there. We'll go eat again, and maybe visit the Beretta store again.
You better bring some more money with you.
Yeah, now I need to.
So anyway, if that's the case, I'll have some Sonus Faber Aidas for sale.
Okay.
I may have some Burmaster amplifiers for sale too, if anybody's in the Burmaster.
Okay.
So
cool. Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. Good seeing you. And I guess we got to wrap up with Tom. Tom was the butt of all the jokes this weekend at dinner. There's always somebody.
At least I'm not
usually me.
I'm not a zombie anyway.
Yeah, we had
that's an inside joke. There's
an
more
inside
to
joke,
it that you
an inside
really should all know.
It's for my second YouTube channel, soon to come, but I'll save that for another day.
Indeed, yeah.
But you guys got all the inside scoop on that. But besides the corn dogs this weekend, what did you enjoy the most, Tom?
Well, I guess a little feedback for Gary. I thought it was a really a nice vibe at that show, and the other aspect of it, which I was kind of expecting, but it was really fulfilled when I got there, is having a nice venue like this, like the Gaylord was, really makes a difference, especially when you get into this really high-end realm where, you know, speakers are starting at 100K, you know, things like that. And of course, Dallas Metro and Houston draws, you know, a lot of people that can afford that kind of thing as disposable. And so I think it was a good venue choice. The vibe of the show was great. Of course, you'd like to see it grow, and I expect it will. So well done, I thought. As far as what I saw at the show, just an interesting tidbit. I wrote a note to myself here as John was talking. The von Schweikerts, those the new ones that they came out with, they had two pairs there, a green pair and a silver pair, I think. Those were not designed by Damon. They were designed by commissioned by to Steve Norbert of Prana Fidelity Edge, which he's made some great speakers that were not very expensive, and he had a big role in that.
Interesting.
If not the whole thing. So it's just an interesting tidbit, and they did sound very good, I thought. And I had a lot. I mean, Van and I went to some of the same rooms together. We had a lot of overlap as I heard his commentary, and a few certainly in common. The Zeloton, I had not heard at any length before, and we got a quick tidbit of those, and you could just see hear the promise in those. It was very good. At his recommendation, I went back to the AGD room and listened to the Rosso Fiorentino speakers again. I like them a lot. I like the ones I heard at Expona, the bigger version, the Sienna, and they were very good. And I went back to the Vivid Gia 3s. I think they were good. I'd heard them before again at Expona and liked them there, and they were just as good here at this show. The one that was interesting to me that I didn't expect, or I don't know why I didn't expect it, but I just didn't pay much attention to it in the past, was I went to the Burmester room. Norm Stinky had moved over to there from Rutherford Audio, and he had the new 232 integrated, which has a space for a DAC and a space for a phono stage built in. It's all in one box for like 35 grand loaded with everything on it. And he had the Model 50 speakers. So those were about 30. So in Burmester realm, it was not over the top expensive, but it really sounded good in this small room. And I think that was for me one of the kind of the testaments to these rooms at this hotel, the small ones, sounded quite good. I mean, I heard that in several rooms, which surprised me. And that particular setup was, I just thought was very well done. And so those were the ones. I'm trying to think of the others that stood out to me. Those are the main ones. I mean, the Burmester probably the biggest surprise. The Von Schweikert was very good. Potpourri, of course, I've probably heard him more than anyone who doesn't own a pair. And they didn't disappoint. So and the one thing about them now that I've heard them in like 5 different places now, including all the shows at Michael's house. It seems like, and I know Van and Dave might disagree a little bit, but it seems like you can plop those down. It's really surprising for a panel speaker, a dipole, that you can plop them down within reason, in a reasonable room, reasonably far from the front wall, a few feet, and they already sound good. And they sound as good as anything out there. But that last little bit of tweaking you do for the 1 or 2% that's missing just puts
That's
them
when
way
you
up
approach
top.
greatness.
Yeah, they really can do it. So, and like I said, I think it's 5 different environments that I've heard them in now, and it's been the same way every time. So,
Well, on that note, Dave, I think, filmed me doing the entire setup of the potpourri room. I'll eventually
Mhm.
get that video and upload it.
Yep.
So you will see me set up the potpourri hypersales in that room. And that was really the only time I had the center seat. If you remember, I was mainly doing presentations.
That was
But
with the subs.
yeah, and so, but what is so amazing, and it also parlays into Van's install, is that we really didn't have to do too much. It didn't take us long. We used ASC tube traps. In fact, he was up there helping us move the traps at one point. And yeah, it was almost like you mentioned, I didn't want to mess with it. You almost,
yeah,
when you don't have under 200 hertz, almost every room that I've seen, and including my own, you have these deep nulls and peaks at somewhere. You're going to be sitting somewhere in that, especially with symmetrically loading bass. But it seems like with the potpourris being a line source and then towing them in, um, it's a little more immune to that. And both at Van's house, I was totally shocked. We had ran one measurement. I'm like, I don't want to touch this. This is as good as I've ever seen measurements from the first. And then same thing in everything except Capital Audio Fest. And that was, we determined a ceiling issue because the ceiling was a little bit lower. And that comes back to your parlay. Sorry about my dogs if you're hearing them barking in the back, but it goes back to Gary saying, I think before the show, these are higher ceilings. Is that correct, Gary?
Higher ceilings in Dallas. Is that what you mean? Yes,
Yes,
definitely.
yes.
Yeah, they're 9 feet, and at calf they're like 8.6 or 8.4, so they're not quite 9 feet at calf.
Yeah. So
And plus,
yeah.
plus the standard rooms, at in Dallas are 14 feet wide and 20
yeah,
feet long, where the calf rooms are 13 by 20. But let me say also that the Crow family, Harlan Crow, the Crow family who built the Anatole, they're construction magnates, and man, they know how to build things well. I it's kind of unusual to go from room to room to room and to have so many good sounding rooms where other venues, there maybe the walls between one room to the next are not as good, but uh, the hotel rooms, the rooms at Southwest Audio Fest, the Anatole, were, I think, truly amazing.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I've done a lot of shows where people would complain, the crosstalk between rooms, and they're like, "Can you turn it down?" And
Right.
then it frustrates, customers because they want to hear it crank. None of that at this show. Beautiful hotel, and yeah, the isolation and the wall construction definitely higher grade.
Yeah,
Yep.
even the meeting rooms all along the mezzanine, we were concerned about crosstalk from one room to the next, and they're right immediately
Mhm.
adjacent to each other. And from what I understand, they used a 8-inch concrete block, floor to ceiling, floor to the roof line, not to the not just to the ceiling where you can see, but all the way to the top. And you could tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's one thing to take away from this show is not only do you see the best of the best brands, you had the equivalent of some of the bigger shows in terms of big rooms. You already have the
Right.
equivalent. You saw the best of the best from MBL Extremes. YG brought their best. Potpourri brought their best. Some of these other rooms brought their very best. Then the other thing is that we saw new technology you don't even see
Right.
at other shows. We talked about the RISI and some of the Planet Venus and some of the albedo. And we saw budget stuff. And then you have a hotel and a nightlife. I think that for me, you can't beat this. When you're talking about the first two shows of the year, Tampa and this, just phenomenal. Now, that being said, I'm off to Montreal in about less than 12 hours. I'll be on a plane to go to Montreal show and
Wow.
then Expona, and then I'm going to Malaysia. So,
Wow.
but each show has its flavor, but no doubt, sentimentally for me, being able to drive up, wear my crazy outfits, see so many of you guys that are both local to Texas and so many of you guys that flew out there. This is a super memorable show. And really, that's what makes the show. I mean, it's the interactions with the vendors and the people and the fellow audiophiles that really, yes, the gear is cool, but you can see the gear anywhere at a dealer. This was a whole nother level of experience. So anybody that doesn't like this show or didn't like it, then they need to get better friends because this was a lot of fun. The nightlife was fun, except for Dave, but that's okay.
No, I agree. I've been doing this for a long time, and your camaraderie and all the fun that we had together, that was definitely tops.
Very
Definitely
much
a
so.
great show.
I haven't even talked to Mike Sweck. I talk to him like 10 times a day though. But do you have anything to add, Mike?
Yeah, I just again want to thank Gary for putting on a good show and give me an opportunity to exhibit there. I think the show went great. Obviously, I want to thank everybody that's on this channel for the help. And you're all customers, so I want to clarify one thing that kind of some chatter I've heard. None of you have asked for a dime, and throughout a lot, Jason helps a ton. Never asked me for anything outside of the little vodka bottle behind him that I got him.
Oh yeah.
Tom's a customer of mine. He comes to the shows and helps me. Van spent a lot of time with me, helping me immensely. I'd probably still be there unpacking if it wasn't for his help. Dave is a customer. So I just want to make sure we clarify that no one's getting paid. We all became friends. So I really appreciate all that from you guys. That's what you've been paid so far.
I've gotten 3 of these from Mike Sweck because he knows this is my collection now. Is collecting these different ones. So
hey Jason,
yeah.
Jason, are you gonna make a ring out of that?
Did you like my rings? What about my outfits? I mean, this was this is the only show, Gary, that I bring those level of outfits. So yeah, but yeah, this would make cool for a hat.
I want to tell you something about that vodka. That's Dan Aykroyd's company that makes
I heard that. Yeah, Crystal.
Yeah, pours it over diamonds or something as part of the. Yeah, I can't read that, but anyhow.
Crystal Head, yeah, agave vodka.
Have you tried it yet?
No, I don't even want to open the bottle. It's
yeah,
these are so
I
beautiful.
saw it.
But yeah, and he got me some other ones that are really cool. So yeah, that's been my compensation so far. Although I've got the prototypes at my house now, because I'm going to be using those indefinitely until the production models are ready. And really, that was the other, to talk about Potpourri, I was super shocked when I heard prototype. I was a little bit worried. And we did a Zoom with them and I said, are you sure you want to demo it? And they weren't worried at all about the performance. They wanted to do some things to get the low frequencies even lower than what they were showcasing, but we were fine doing it with and without subs. But also, I think they're going to do Via Blue binding posts on the back and jumpers, and maybe change the feet. But other than that, that was a finished product. Like, I loved the look of it. It was very polished. I've gone to shows where like PS Audio for 2 straight years did prototypes of their Arnie Nudell version. Those were like almost glued together. You could almost see they were true prototypes, and I was a little worried about that. But yeah, they've been a pleasure to deal with. Mike's been a pleasure to deal with. And what is, it is kind of shocking, I guess, to people that customers would actually, like Van would fly to help set up a room. We have people like Tom running Bach demos, and he's just a customer. Dave has done videos and just strictly customers. Nobody's getting compensated here, and it's so shocking that that's the case. But when you do business with people you enjoy hanging out with, you don't feel like it's work. You like being part of the family. And in the grand scheme of things, everybody, it's a win-win deal. And these shows are just mandatory for me, not just when I was doing it solo. It's so much more fun now sharing my experience and the ride I'm on with all of you guys. So big props to you guys. Great seeing you all. Can't wait to see you all at the next one. Hopefully Expona, and then Capital Audio Fest in the fall to see Gary again. In the interim, if you want to hear the potpourris, it's there been a hint lately. You can go down to Louisiana, hear it at Dave Husto's, North Carolina, Van. You can go to up in the Northeast. Pretty much any of the Northeast states are accessible to Gary. In Florida, Mike Sweck. Houston, maybe I'll find somebody in the West Coast next. We need to.
Okay, so I'm the odd man out. I don't have a set, but I've got a new place that we're gonna have Jason up and show you.
I'm gonna come up there.
But my gig is I'm a recording engineer. So and I've talked to Dave about it. So I'll have master tapes for you or high res downloads you could do. I'll do a Dropbox, and I have the Bach Pro tools to make recordings from Edgar. So I'm going to be making recordings that are going to be demo material for you guys.
Yeah. So that's great. And
Michael, are you in Austin, Texas?
I'm in Austin, music capital of the world. I recorded the Austin Symphony. I do the big band jazz, rock, blues. You guys tell me what kind of stuff you like, because I'm going to be doing a lot more recording.
Well, you just do Austin city limits and just leave your stuff there.
I've already done Austin city limits. I don't know how to put a picture up. Actually, I sent it to you, Jason, with David Huff of City Limits. I recorded Herbie Hancock, Wayne Shorter for a PBS special. I don't know how to bring a picture. I have to send you a picture. So I've already done that with David Huff of Austin City Limits. So
so you're on my list to visit in Austin when I take a long weekend to Fredericksburg, stop in Austin.
Oh yeah, I'm going to take you out to hear the real deal.
That's awesome. Yeah, and a big shout out. If anybody's always welcome. We made a lot of new friends this weekend. Everybody's welcome to join our crew. It's not, you don't have to be in the WhatsApp group, but if you want to join the WhatsApp group, you can join it either by buying a Bach or getting the membership on the YouTube channel. But all of these guys are in it, and 100 other people. Some of the smartest guys, from Michael Rovner, Edgar, JR, Steve McCormick, and then all of these audiophiles with a variety of experience. You ask them any question, I don't have to even do much work. Sometimes I'm busy, at the shows, people are answering questions for people like this. So yeah, it's a great community with none of the bad things that you see usually with YouTube or forums online. So everybody's welcome to join the fun. And I just want to thank everybody and thank Gary for a great show. And kind of wrap it up at that. We're right at an hour, and plus this is going to parlay on top of my other video. So it's going to be a long one, but I think everybody will enjoy all these different perspectives. So
I was going to read a couple things that were emailed to Papori.
Okay,
we had a lot of calls with some dealers too already, but a couple that stood out. This one was, I went to the Southwest Audio Fest across the weekend. I was extremely impressed with your product. I currently own SoundLab Ultimate speakers and will be considering your speakers for a future purchase. Your product for me was the best of show. The SoundLab presentation didn't even come close. Not that I'm working on SoundLabs, I'm actually a dealer for SoundLabs, but this guy wrote, I heard a pair of your speakers over the weekend, and they blew my mind. Can you send me a price list? I currently have the Martin Logan Neal list, but I think your speakers might even be better. So just a few things that have been coming in that stood out to me that actually Pori sent to me that were sent to them. So, and that was a prototype pair that people are commenting on. So it's pretty exciting.
Oh, and to that end, you brought like 200 paraphernalia to give out on the different models of potpourri, and they were all gone by Sunday, early Sunday. Like, that's incredible. Yeah. And then the
Koozies.
the koozies, the mouse pad. Nobody wanted the mouse pad.
Hey.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mouse
that's cool.
pad, yeah.
I'll take one.
Yeah.
Okay, I got one.
I like it.
But yeah, we had some good giveaways and nighttime stuff as well. But I have videos of that. I think Dave shot a lot of that. Plenty more videos to come. Definitely watch my last day of coverage of all the great rooms. Like I found no room that was super disappointing in any way, but a lot of innovative stuff that I don't think you'll see at any other show this year. So again, thanks to Gary on a great job. Thanks to you guys. And guess we'll wrap it up at this.
Good seeing
Great.
everybody.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you.
you,
Thanks,
Gary.
guys. Thank
All
you
right.
all.
Take
Good
care.
night.
All
Time.
Good night.
right.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Good night.